Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to our raw reaction review for Renfield.
Some call me the Dark One, others the Lord of Death. To most, I am Dracula.
Okay, obviously we're dealing with a little bit more than just narcissism here.
Nicolas Cage is somebody that I think we can easily say we both admire his work. He's got some duds in there, not to say, he's had a little bit of a kind of a renaissance over the last few years after a long string of just kind of so direct to DVD work. But yeah, I would say we're both pretty big fans. Luke, your thoughts on Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, like, I'm a big fan of a lot of his 90s stuff. And then, he was a little dormant there with not too many notable performances. But, over the last, probably 5 or 6 years, he's had some pretty noteworthy things come out in a wide variety of acting skill. And I would say Renfield is no different.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think to start things off here and just say that my first real big positive that I'll give this movie is just that Nicolas Cage. Everybody knew it from the trailer. I would say most horror fans knew it just from the announcement of him playing Dracula. But what I did not expect and what I thought was a pleasant surprise is just to the extent of his commitment, which, it's no secret. Nicolas Cage he loves what he does, and he will commit hard to things. But like, there were a lot of really shockingly awesome prosthetics and scenarios that they put Dracula the character in this film. And I thought just everything that Nicolas Cage did was electric. He is easily the standout gold star for me of this film.
Absolutely. I think when you're going to look back on this film and want to talk about a performance, I think a lot of the performances are strong, but Nicolas Cage kind of stands above the rest. I think with this one, there's a particular scene which I think is what you're referencing as well, where he's heavy in prosthetics. We're not going to spoilers, but there's a reason for it, and there's a couple different stages, and in all those stages, I think he gives an absolutely tremendous performance. Just his line delivery really sells anything that he's saying, and just the little accents that he puts on words, and then just the way he kind of gives the body performance as well. It gives everything so memorable and gives you this real feeling to Dracula, and it gives it this kind of different feeling, I guess. It's like we are supposed to hate this character, but the charisma that Nicolas Cage puts into Dracula, you just absolutely love to see him on screen.
Absolutely. And you did mention the other actors in this film too. Obviously, we have Nicholas Hoult as the title character, Renfield. I'm a big Nicholas Hoult fan. We liked him early last year in The Menu. We thought he was really good in that. And this is another great performance by him. I mean, there is a little bit of a gripe that I have just with the character of Renfield in general, but that more falls on the writing side of things, so I'll save that. But as far as Nicholas Hoult goes, I mean, he's a very charismatic guy. If I had to give him any critique, it's that he tends to play a lot of his characters very similarly, unless he's in like a Mad Max movie or The Menu, I guess. I could say those are two really big standouts, but he does like to play these kind of meek characters who are a little timid and a little bit shy, but he does it really well. And I think that some of the action and things that they put him in is really, really fun. And I think that he really sells it well. He does make the character of Renfield pretty likable, I gotta say.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the hardest thing to do, especially when you're going up against a performance like Nicolas Cage's Dracula, where you immediately want to like the villain. And then Nicholas Hoult comes in as Renfield, and I think he's got a big task making the audience like him as well. And I think you do find that common ground there, where it's like you do like Dracula, but you like Renfield as well. And I think there's kind of a gravitas to playing these meek characters as well. I think it's kind of needed for that dynamic against Dracula and how bold that character is. But then the little accents that he puts on the Renfield character kind of shine through as well, especially when he's going out and doing his own thing, and we're following his story with for a moment without Dracula. I think he puts on his own uniqueness into that. That's why
Mhm.
I think both these actors play very well off each other because they can bring two different pieces of the pie, so to speak, in terms of us watching this film.
I thought they were both excellent when they were on screen together. Yes, I did enjoy their banter and things like that going back and forth. The dynamics to their relationship were interesting. I would say a little generic. I am holding back on my negatives just for another second here because I do want to say that another positive for me was Awkwafina. I know that a few people, say what they will. They find her kind of annoying with her humor. I honestly thought that she was a bit more grounded and reeled in this film than what we've seen in the past. But I enjoyed her character. I actually really thought that she brought a lot of, like I said, that groundedness to these both kind of out of time eccentric characters. But also just the fact of the scenarios that they have her in. Just being, because obviously if you've seen the trailer, she's a police officer, but just kind of like the way that they structure her story and just how where she stands as opposed to her entire workforce and department and everything. I actually enjoyed that. I thought that that was pretty interesting. And honestly, I think that she really could hold her own with Nic Cage and Nicholas Hoult. Do I think that she's the absolute standout? No. But again, it is one of those things where I was surprised that she wasn't just rattling joke after joke after joke, which is kind of what a lot of people, including myself, have grown to expect from her. I did really enjoy her performance.
Yeah, I did as well. Where it's like you could easily get lost in the shuffle playing against these two bigger characters like this. But I think Aquafina does really well, and like you said, brings that groundedness where she comes from a very meaningful kind of story, and really wants to kind of go out and prove herself to a certain extent, and then she kind of gets lost in between these two weird characters in this odd feud that they have going on. And I think you know, we're kind of as an audience seeing a lot of this through the lens of Aquafina. And I think that's again a big task to kind of make us resonate with her in between these two very charismatic characters.
Absolutely. And she also had some pretty great standout action sequences.
Yes.
I got to say, her and Nicholas Hoult both have a really great sequence together where they have to fight some people. And it is pretty, they actually have two, I would say, two really great sequences. Probably the two best action sequences in the film. And they both do really well. And so to kind of get into a couple of my issues with this, first, I will say, I did enjoy how over the top the gore was. I thought it was a lot of fun. But again, we both kind of talked about it a little bit on our way out. They did rely heavily on the CGI gore, but you did make a good point, and I will concede to it that, with the kind of the sequences that they were using the gore for, it would have been very tough to, I guess, pull that off in a very convincing way,
Yeah.
just because of how over the top the violence in this film is.
Yeah. And I think this one kind of I understand what you're saying because sometimes the CGI doesn't work for me, and I think it's pretty evident in the scenes. But I think it kind of acts as a punctuation to a lot of the scenes here, and kind of gives you those exclamation points, so to say. When someone like Renfield is, I don't want to, I'm tiptoeing around spoilers, but there's, a pretty epic scene in terms of bringing out some appendages from a couple different characters and using them as a weapon, which, that type of stuff, you have to go into CGI and things. But so for me, I think some of the CGI looks wonky sometimes. It didn't really take me out of it because of the tone of Renfield. For me, I think one of my issues with it just the film itself feels too big. Sometimes where it kind of takes you out of it a little bit. You don't really feel the intimacy that maybe you would get. I think I've brought in up a couple instances throughout some of the podcasts and things of if this film was to take place in the 80s, it would have a different feel. And like if this film was made in the 80s because of a budgetary constraint, you want to get the over the top things, and it would feel a little more intimate. You probably lean a little more into horror rather than the action. So I think that's kind of one of my gripes with this.
Yeah, no, I think the scope could have been a little smaller. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the world itself, because it kind of just makes you feel like, okay, so is it just Dracula? Like, we don't have any other of these mythical kind of, universal monster type things in this universe at all. They kind of just make it seem like, is he the only vampire, kind of thing. So it's like they really in some ways they went wider in scope with just the kind of way they wanted to present their story, but they didn't go enough into detail of like really filling the world out. It feels almost like the best thing I can equate it to is when you get a video game that advertises that it's like, super open world, and it's like, you got all these big flashy set pieces, but at the end of the day, it's mostly just walking around and there's nothing going on. It's very empty in a lot of places. My biggest, I think, gripe with this film in particular is just that it is a bit generic when it comes down to the actual story itself. I do like the Renfield and the Dracula relationship. I'm kind of getting tired of these stories where it's just hi, my name is blah 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 and this is my situation, and it's like really pretty paint by numbers. You can kind of see where things are going, and you can kind of really just kind of piece together in your head, well, this is what he's going to say. Like, I literally thought in my head how he was going to end the film just from how he opened the film, of just saying, oh, I'm this and that and blah blah blah. It's like, I just feel like it's such a crutch, and it's like we couldn't think of anything a little bit more creative on how to kind of, thrust these characters into the world. Like, I understand the relationship dynamic that they have and what they're going for, and I'm fine with that. I just feel like it was a little lazy to just have it be so much of just that inner monologue of just like, yes, I have a codependent relationship with my boss and blah blah blah, all that. I'm getting a little sick of that kind of archetype in film.
Yeah, and for me, I thought the whole support group thing with the toxic relationship with the boss, I thought it was a little tongue in cheek. I thought it was pretty fun.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
It's mostly just the extra stuff with it, the
yeah,
voiceovers and everything.
yeah, and I enjoyed the love story aspect of it. I think kind of Dracula is our main antagonist, I would say, but then we also have a side antagonist, which I could have done without that. I mean, like
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
some of one of the characters in particular is a good bit of fun, but
Absolutely.
it's like I really would have loved to have just the main focus been on Dracula, and that would have been our dynamic rather than having the side antagonist come in and kind of eat up so much scenery all the time. Um, and then one of my other issues, I would say, probably toward the end, I was expecting maybe a bigger climax and a resolution. It was just like, as we're kind of coming to it, and they figure out, again, we're tiptoeing around spoilers, a certain aspect of what they can use. It's a good chuckle, but I was expecting a little bit more toward the end. When we're kind of building Renfield and Dracula, I thought maybe we would get something more thought out rather than okay, we just played it for a more of a laugh than anything. So, I understand it with the tone, but I was just expecting a little bit more, I think.
Absolutely. But I think all in all, I can still say that this is a good fun time at the theater. I think if you were very interested in this concept and you would like to, have a good chuckle, maybe go with some friends, like, when it's a little bit more of a, maybe after a week or two when the film's going to be on like more discount showings and stuff. I don't know if you need to rush out and see Renfield, but I would definitely say it's worth a watch. I think that you'd have a good bit of fun with it. What was the Jamie Foxx movie about vampires that came out a
Was
couple
it
months?
Daybreak or
No,
no,
Daybreakers is the
no,
one with
Day Shift?
Day Shift. I really think that towards the third act, I really felt a lot of Day Shift in this movie,
Yeah.
and that's really not what I wanted to come out feeling. So I kind of want to put that in there as just kind of saying, this is a wonderful Nic Cage performance, and it's definitely worth checking out. They have a lot of really great prosthetics. They have a lot of fun ideas. But at the end of the day, I think that story really holds it back for me. So I'm going to say, if you're excited, go see it, have fun. But if you were on the fence about it, maybe wait till it hits streaming, or maybe wait till, you know, it's a little bit cheaper to go see it. I don't know if you need to rush out and see Renfield right away.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of fun. It's not the funnest film I've seen. I think Cocaine Bear still beats this one out.
Yeah.
You know, I was expecting, you know, we bring up Day Shift, I'll say like, you know, the first two acts of this film were what I was hoping for with Day Shift, which we didn't get.
Yes.
I like the gore in this one a bit more. They really leaned into that pretty heavily. So I think there's a lot of creative stuff going on in Renfield. I think it is a lot of fun at the theater. Yeah, I would go check it out. I don't think I'm gonna be rushing to purchase this one on Blu-ray when it comes out, but if it ends up streaming, you know, on Peacock or something like that, I'm definitely gonna check it out again.
Absolutely. But alrighty, guys, it's going to wrap us up for our review of Renfield. If you are going to check out the film, or you've already checked out the film, let us know what you thought down below in the comments, as well as hit that like button. And we are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. And yeah, we got a lot of great content on the channel already. We are going through a couple of the Evil Dead films in preparation for Evil Dead Rise next week. You know, we will have our Evil Dead 2013 review up here shortly. And yeah, we've already got our Evil Dead, the original review up on the channel. So check those out. And yeah, we got a lot of great stuff coming to you guys. Very busy couple weeks. So definitely keep an eye on the channel. There will be a lot of content dropping really fast. So yeah, it's April shaped up to be a pretty busy month for us. So we'll see what May has in store. But man, it's going to be a race to the finish. And I am stoked.
It seems to be the reoccurring theme, I think so.
Absolutely. But alrighty, guys, it's going to wrap us up here. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Exactly. He won't grow to full power. What? That's so weird. Why would you phrase it like that? But yes.